to deliver her speech to our gathering. Ms. Lesha Fedoruk.
Дорогі українці, dear Ukrainians, dear friends, all those who are not indifferent to our national tragedy, who shares with us the grief and pain of our motherland. We have gathered here in this square 5 years after the Chornobyl disaster to recall once more what happened on April 26th. It was the biggest global catastrophe that the burden of it will lie on the shoulders of Ukrainians and Belarusians for thousands and thousands of years to come. And it also is a logical consequence of all 70 preceding years of communist rule, of all its unhuman cruelty, atrocities, narrow-mindedness, suspicion and hypocrisy, selfishness and stupidity, which are so widely known all over the world. I will never ever forget that tragic day. Nobody in Kiev knew what had happened until the third day after the disaster. I worked at that time in the Institute of Material Sciences in Kiev. I remember well our boss gathered us and informed in a cautious way that something serious happened in Chornobyl, but the scale of the accident was yet unknown. I remember the feeling of hopelessness and despair. Other people in Kiev were informed perhaps in the same secretive manner. Official information, some 4 or 5 scarce lines in a central newspaper, appeared a day later. Radio and TV were silent. Equally silent was the government and Gorbachev himself. He addressed the nation only 18 days after the disaster, and his main concern was not to blame the system and not to create excessive panic among the people, though we were, of course, already in terrible panic. The people's health and lives seemed not to bother the presiding government too much. The official data about the levels of radioactive pollution were absolutely insufficient and inaccurate, which, in my opinion, was the biggest crime. On the contrary, the unofficial information was spreading with unbelievable speed, as it happened, for instance, with the news that the senior Ukrainian communist leaders had secretly taken their children away from Kiev already the day after the accident. It is shameful and painful for me to recall all that hypocrisy. The consequences of the disaster are terrible indeed. The famous, most fertile Ukrainian black earths are contaminated, and about 20% of the total area of Ukraine is polluted to the levels in excess of 1 curie per square kilometer. Rivers and lakes have always been the pride of Ukraine. You remember тече річка невеличка з вишневого саду, кличе козак дівчиноньку собі на пораду. So all these rivers are contaminated now, what remained of them. After the preceding stupid and irresponsible land reclamation, their total number diminished by about 20,000, and what remained of them is now terribly polluted. Just the wastewater storage basin of the Dnieper above Kiev has 5,000 curie accumulated in its bottom silts. The kilometers exclusion zone has absorbed over 500,000 curie. 116,000 people were forced to leave their homes in highly polluted areas and move elsewhere. Still more people are waiting to be resettled, mostly from Chornobyl province. But Ukraine does not have enough money to subsidize their resettlement. In the meantime, the central government promotes the building in Ukraine of new villages for Russians who have for over 15 years worked in Siberia and the far north areas of Russia. There was not long ago a dispute between the Ukrainian and central governments about subsidizing the resettlement mentioned above. The Deputy Prime Minister Doguzhiev of the central government claimed at a session in Chornobyl that 70% of the expenditures involved should be paid by Ukraine. The cheek of it, he forgot that atomic power program has been thrust down Ukraine's throat by Moscow. The godfather of the Chornobyl plant and Brezhnev's favorite, academician Alexander, was cursed by the Ukrainian people. His initial plan was to build this plant in Vyshgorod, some 20 kilometers off the Kiev center, so that the fire above the fourth reactor could have been observed from Khrushchev Street in Kiev. Nice idea, isn't it? His favorite joke was that the reactors of the type used in Chornobyl were safe enough to be placed under a wedding bed. 2 years after the disaster, there was a conference held in Kiev to discuss the future state power engineering program. Moscow senior nuclear power scientist-in-chief claimed at this conference that up to 40 atomic power units should be working in Ukraine by the year 2000. At the time, we already had 12 of them, and a few more were under construction. I remember my fierce dispute at that conference with Ignatenko, the then high official of the nuclear power ministry. He was unable to refute any of our arguments against building new reactor in Ukraine, and the row lasted for an hour. Exhausted, he tapped one of us on the shoulder and said, "You are good friends, but we will build them anyway." Moscow nuclear bosses were unable to learn the Chornobyl lessons. Initial plans included 8 reactors to be built in Chornobyl, and already after the disaster, works were secretly carried out aiming at the construction of the reactors number 5 and number 6. Can you imagine it? As you know, a sarcophagus was constructed over the ruined reactor to localize radioactivity. It was supposed to serve for at least 20 to 30 years. Now it is obvious that the sarcophagus will not survive the planned time. There is an ever-existing danger that the sarcophagus may collapse and its debris may provoke another huge outlet of radioactive dust, since many tons of nuclear fuel are buried within it. This sarcophagus is a sword of Damocles, not only hanging over the heads of Ukrainians. The Ecological Council of Ukraine, of which I am a member, is now supplying an expertise for a new concrete coffin to enclose the first one. The environmental and demographic situation in Ukraine is really tragic. The number of deaths will soon exceed the number of births. 8.2% of Kievites died in 1990. The average radioactive pollution in Kiev is about 1 curie per square kilometer, though the city area is not included on the list of zones with excessive pollution. Only 20% of school children in Ukraine are healthy enough. The rest suffer from different diseases directly related to industrial contamination. Last year, the regeneration ratio of the nation, which is the number of girls aged 15 per one adult woman, has for the first time become less than unity. It's a tragic datum. In Donbass area, 24% of population display some or other genetical changes. Child mortality in Ukraine is now 2 times higher than in the developed countries. 20 freaks of nature are born per 1,000 births. All those horrible data show that economical, environmental, and social conditions are unbelievable in Ukraine. Its people are just silently dying. We are now a nation with no future. There is only one way out, a complex environmental salvation program. The Environmental Council of Ukraine has developed a pilot conception of such a program on a regional basis. We have recently done it for the town of Kamyanets-Podilsk in Chmelnytsk province. The program includes environmental, social, and economical aspects. Our next tasks are similar programs for the historical towns of Chigirin and Ostrog. The programs mentioned can only be realized under the condition of drastic changes in the industry of Ukraine, which should include its complete reorientation and the changes of the industrial proportions and priorities. In their turn, the necessary changes are only possible in an independent Ukraine. We have proclaimed our sovereignty last July, and our future now depends on how successfully we gain this sovereignty. We rely on the help of Ukrainians living abroad, which form an essential part of our nation. In conclusion, I would like you all to consider these few words. The death of a single man results in an endless and widening void, both in time and space, due to his unborn children and great-grandchildren, due to his unfulfilled plans, unwritten books, etc. Just imagine what an awful void, a complete emptiness and desert have appeared in the history of Ukraine, in its space and time, due to those millions of our perished compatriots who had been murdered in communist concentration camps and died in famine in 1933. And now we must add to this grievous toll the people who have already died and who is soon to die in radiation after 1986. This idea infuriates me totally. God save our nation, but Ukraine hasn't yet died. Україна ще не вмерла. Слава Україні! Дякую за увагу. Thank you.
We are privileged today to have in our midst A Member of Parliament who I'm sure you won't mind if I say is a keen supporter of our cause. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the Labour MP for Mansfield, Mr. Alan Meal.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of Chernobyl, citizens of the UK, Ukraine and elsewhere, I bring to you fraternal greetings from the county of Nottinghamshire and from the town of Mansfield, who all fervently support your cause and will continue to do so until justice is achieved. We have heard stories today from this platform about the seriousness of the crime which affected the country of the Ukraine. It was a crime against humanity, because when a serious accident had occurred, the opportunity to apply and accept guilt wasn't afforded soon enough. And so many hundreds, indeed thousands, will die because of it. Our job today is not to dwell on the past, but to remember it and to build for the future. We have to recall that many hundreds more, many thousands and tens of thousands will die and will be seriously affected, not only of this generation, but generations to come. And we who are in the legislators of the world, the legislators of our country, whatever government that may be, have a responsibility to wake up and answer the call of the Ukrainian population. We have a responsibility because they have suffered because of an accident that could have affected any of us anywhere in the world. We've come here today to talk about what can be done. And as far as I and other colleagues in all the political parties in Parliament are concerned, we will be pressing not only for amounts of money to be sent out and made available to the Ukrainian government. We know that has to come. It has to come in heavy measure if they're going to start combating the problems that they've got out there because of this accident. But we need to start to bring Ukrainians to the United Kingdom to train them in the necessary medical experiment and treatment and training for what they will have to do when they go back home. In the interim period, to alleviate the suffering of the many thousands of Ukrainian people who are suffering in their own land, we have to send out immediately nurses and doctors and skilled paramedics who will help in the pain and to ease the pain and suffering in these people. We also have a responsibility to go to that other part of government, local government, to remind it that it has a responsibility to freedom for the Ukraine. On many occasions, on many dates, they remember to fly a flag of opportunity to remind their communities that there is a cause worth fighting for. Just on our side here, we have an embassy, the South African embassy, and thankfully, local government up and down the length and breadth of the United Kingdom flew the flag for freedom to change the political state of that particular country, which is now in the final process of being completed. But I call on every local authority in the United Kingdom to fly the flag of freedom for the Ukrainian population. Because no real justice can be applied to the Ukrainian nation until they're given the right and the democracy to actually sort out the mess that's been created by perpetrators in their own land. So the call today, ladies and gentlemen, is for peace, freedom and justice for Ukraine. Peace so that they don't have to put up with the intrusion of nuclear power for very much longer. Peace so that they can decide the direction and have the sense of mind to do it on their own. The justice that will sort out the injustices which have been occurred by foreign governments in their own land. And finally,
speaker arrived here somewhat unexpectedly, but nevertheless we are extremely grateful to him for sparing his valuable time to be with us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the MP for Keighley, Mr. Gary Waller.
Reverend Fathers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today because I, with you and with people of Keighley who are here, and many hundreds, indeed thousands of Ukrainians from up and down this land, remember the tragedy of those who died and those who continue to suffer as a result of the disaster that happened 5 years ago. And the tragedy of Chornobyl is that it was a disaster which could have been prevented if there was the freedom to express opinions and facts in the Ukraine that we are able to enjoy in this country here. It's a tragedy too that because freedom was suppressed, the results of the disaster were much, much worse than need have been the case. Because for days after the explosion, people knew nothing about what had happened. Children continued to go about their normal lives to become contaminated, while the children of those in officialdom who knew were kept well away. And that is something which could still happen today and can still happen tomorrow until the people of the Ukraine have the freedom to speak out, the freedom to decide their own futures that people who are free throughout the world can enjoy. So Chornobyl is more than just a disaster and a tragedy, a word that causes us to remember the people who died and the people who were injured and the people who suffer. It is a symbol of what the Ukraine still demands. A symbol of freedom, and that is why the disaster of Chornobyl continues to be linked with the aspirations of people in the Ukraine, of people throughout the Soviet Union, to determine their own futures. Let us hope that 5 years from now, if we should meet here again to remember the people of Ukraine and what they have suffered, that we can then say that 10 years after the disaster, those who died did not die in vain, because it told the world that they cannot rely on these changes that have taken place that Mr. Gorbachev and others would have you believe are fundamental. That freedom is indivisible, that unless you have real freedom, then Ukraine will continue to suffer. We have it in our power to make a difference, because by being here, we can speak out to the world. That is why I'm here. That is why my parliamentary colleagues, if they're not here, would like to be here. And let us continue to work for real freedom in the Ukraine, so that another Chornobyl not only will not happen, but can never, ever happen in the future. Thank you very much.
In the immediate aftermath of the Chornobyl disaster, our next speaker, without hesitation, raised poignant questions in the House of Commons to the then Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs. He is the first man of Ukrainian origin to ever become a member of Parliament, and I now call upon him, Mr. Stefan Terlecki, to deliver a few words to today's rally. Stefan.
Mr. Chairman, Reverend Fathers, I never thought the day will come that the country of my birth will commemorate with sorrow and pain in our hearts the greatest catastrophe the world has ever known. in Chornobyl. Let me remind you, friends from far and wide, that Ukraine is the biggest country in the world without its own government. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe and it cannot feed its own people. Ukraine is the richest country in Europe, but it has no right to its own riches. And in the Ukraine today, there are still 7 nuclear plants and 15 nuclear reactors like the one at Chornobyl. And the latest horrific reports coming out are that Kiev, capital city of Ukraine, could be forced to abandonment with a population of approximately 3 million because the catastrophic nuclear fallout on the capital and up to 5 million people may have to be resettled. That is twice the population of Wales where I now live and privileged to live there. And there is a fear of a second catastrophe at Chornobyl, with the radioactive poisoning lasting from between 100 years and over 1,000 years. I ask you, which other capital city in the world, which other country in the world is in such catastrophic situation like the Ukraine? None. The communist regime in Moscow has committed the biggest crime of genocide in the history of mankind, and they must be held responsible for it. It is immoral, it is criminal, it is irresponsible of the communist government to spend billions on nuclear weapons, on military nuclear technology, and at the same time completely ignoring the suffering of the children of Chornobyl. On April 26, 1986, the nuclear explosion at the Chornobyl, hurling into night sky almost 9 tons of radioactive material, about 90 times more than it has fell on Hiroshima. And the radiation that fell on Belarusia was equivalent to 300 bombs the size of the one dropped on Hiroshima. And the people in Belarusia have become like the guinea pigs in a giant radioactive laboratory. 6 million acres of agricultural land has been poisoned. And for 2 weeks, for 2 solid weeks, the communist government in Moscow deceived the nation by not telling them the truth, by not telling the truth to the people about the catastrophe at Chornobyl. Those people had to find the truth from the outside world. In the Today, Chernobyl has become an open gas chamber, radioactive volcano, and the